Wonderful. That's quite amazing. Pastor Ghana, the week like we're getting from the Secretary of Special Operation was a very special one for us. The sweetness of it is that we are gradually regaining, gradually but surely regaining the momentum of the days of the 2021. And we all know what happened. We cannot continue to lament. I'm happy with some of the utterances you made earlier on, actually diagnosing the problem. And as a leader, the leader of Mogamo, um, it's important that you would have to make that. A lot of people are looking up to Mogamo. In fact, kudos to Mogamo and Momo and Mezam for all the resources that they are able to galvanize to enhance the struggle at different fronts. But there were some concerns that happened, and we happened to discuss that about 2 weeks ago. There are still some people in Moramo that are still fighting me, particularly because of that. Fortunately, they don't know I cannot really fight to destroy. I can fight.
And me too.
I'm probably I can probably fight a bad idea, but then one of the reasons I'm bound never to fight Mogamo, as you know, one of the most beautiful woman, in fact, the most beautiful woman in this world, which is my wife, is from Mogamo, and so we're all looking forward to the heydays
Mine
of
too.
Mogamo. Now, where I'm directing this to, um, you are a leader, I would say, an executioner of policy and the way things are happening with this understanding of the ground, of the metrics on the ground, the criminality of Cameroon using those who are wearing our faces against us. If you would have to advise our engagement on the ground, what would be your advice?
If I would have to advise my our engagement on the ground, what would be my advice? Very interesting question that you just asked there, and the answer to that question ties with what Barrister Food said. Um, Barrister Fruso said something which I'm going to agree with something that he said, but then I'm going to moderate something else that he said, and I kind of took down some notes when he said that. Barrister So said French Cameroon realized that they had lost this, that they actually lost this war in 2021. I agree with him that they lost the war, but I would disagree with him on when they lost the war. French Cameroon actually lost the war in 2017. I don't know, the day Bia came back from Ivory Coast and declared war at the airport. I don't know if it was 2007 or 2018.
That was on the 30th of November
November
2017. And they told us they
2017,
were
yes.
going to take us out in 2 weeks.
Correct. That is when French Cameroon actually lost this war. And it's taking them incremental steps to realize that they lost this war. Why do I say that? I say that because for about 60 years, Ambazonians had been looking for means to rise up in arms to seize back their sovereignty, to seize back their independence. And Ambazonians are such an intelligent, hardworking, geographically mobile, peace loving people that they never went above and beyond to galvanize the means towards an uprising. So they were quite content to settle in some manner in a status quo that was not settled, but they could still keep breathing. And what did French Cameroon do to change that status quo? They moved forces into Ambazonia and made it an armed conflict. And by so doing, they gave Ambazonians the gift of now organizing themselves into defense groups. So, had French Cameroon not moved forces into Ambazonia, there would never have been a military uprising. Something that Ambazonians had wished for 60 years but couldn't do it. I myself, I had no
Yeah, I
intentions of
agree.
coming abroad. In high school, my plan was to go to the law school in Yaoundé, join the Cameroon military, so that I could acquire the skills waiting for this day that there would be a military uprising. My own father exiled me from Cameroon. So we had been planning and hoping for a day when we would have to defend our homeland from against our stolen sovereignty. And we never did that. But guess what? French Cameroon gave us the gift by moving its forces into Ambazonia when Ambazonians did not even have a knife to fight with, when Ambazonians did not even have a shotgun to fight with, when Ambazonians did not even have an AK-47 to fight with, when French Cameroon troops were killing Ambazonians in Bamenda, in Boya, in Cambe, in
In
Banso,
Mante.
all over our territory,
Mante.
Moyuka, Manse, all over, mowing our people with helicopter gunships. And what did we do? What did Ambazonians do? They said it was enough. They say if you push a man who does not want to fight, if you push their back to the wall, what are they going to do? They are going to fight back. They are going to accept and execute their internationally recognized right of what? Self-defense. So they push Ambazonia to self-defense. And as the Defense Secretary Zama would say, we are executing our God-given right to self-defense here. So that is when French Cameroon actually lost, because as Barisan so just whispered in the background, the generals of French Cameroon told the diaper-wearing octogenarian in Yaoundé that it was going to take them 3 weeks to round up Ambazonia. Just like those knuckleheads in Moscow told Putin that they were going to round up Ukraine in a few weeks. What do we see 1 year later? We now see bombs flying into Moscow. We now see drones hitting Moscow. We now see liberation groups now in Belgorod trying to liberate Russia. So this battle is going to come back to French Cameroon. This battle is going to come back to Yaoundé. And as Barry Sasso said, the North is already prepared to fight for what is rightfully theirs, their rightful place in French Cameroon. And so this battle, just like we see the battle going back to Moscow, just we saw like in Second World War, the battle coming back to Bonn and to Berlin and to Stuttgart. Just like we saw in Sudan, the battle now finally coming to the north and hitting Khartoum. Just like we saw in Iraq when Saddam moved his forces to Kuwait, the battle
Barrister Gana,
finally coming
of
to
what
Khartoum.
benefit would this battle up north, this possible
Oh, a
battle
lot.
coming from the north, of what benefit would that be to
Just,
us, Barrister Gana, please? Just use that to
but it's
conclude. To
hold your fire. I'm going to say something in pidgin. Then talk say, when fufu tight for your neck, you go choke. This whole invention of Ambazonia is fufu that has gotten tight in French Cameroon's neck. They have a problem of trying to transition leadership. There is no success without a transition plan. They don't know who to transition to. And they are eventually going to lead a war against themselves. I said this in the beginning that this is going to end in French Cameroon as a war of all against all. And that is what is coming to Yaoundé. Just like you saw the case in Iraq, in Russia, in Yugoslavia, in Germany, where the chickens eventually come back home to roost. Don't forget in Sudan, this general, I think I wrote his name here, the General Abdel Fattah that is now pitched on against General Mohammed Hamdan. General Mohammed Hamdan was basically an offshoot of the Janjaweed that they trained, just like French Cameroon trained the bee. The Sudanese government trained the Janjaweed to harass, to kill, to maim the Southerners, the Africans in the South. What has that finally morphed to? It's morphed into this general now building a whole cache of area in and in the Abe area, that is morphed into him being now able to compete with the government in Khartoum, degenerating into a civil war that is the chickens are coming back to hunt the Sudanese for all what they did in the south. In Ambazonia, they've sat on Ambazonia. They've sat on the Southern Cameroon. Basically, just like we saw the video of George Floyd having his neck being sat on by that policeman. That is how French Cameroon has sat on Ambazonia. And that has enabled corruption also in French Cameroon. The ministers have looted enough funds to be able to fund an army for the next 10 years. It is coming back to Yaoundé. And Ambazonia's freedom has already been laced. We shall be free.